Mike Tirico on the call. Pittsburgh West last night. You made that point. Are the Raiders ever going to have a home field advantage, or is it always going to be fans of the opposing team taking in
Vegas for the
weekend in Las Vegas,
right,
and we'll go take over that stadium?
Yeah.
How many natural fans of the Raiders are there in Las Vegas? I think they count on people coming from Oakland and Los Angeles to balance it out, but
that ain't happening.
A couple
right
weeks
now.
after we saw the 49ers fans take over Acrisure Stadium, we see the Steelers take over Allegiant Stadium, and fans of the visiting team aren't bashful about spending the money and making the trips, and Las Vegas is a destination, and we saw it last night.
I mean, I don't know. In a lot of the game and some of the big moments, I honestly thought it sounded like there was more Steeler fans there. I felt like it seems like Jimmy Garoppolo's dealing with crowd noise more than Kenny Pickett was. So, yeah, that's going to be something that, I kind of gave them a boost going, this is their home opener. They're going to be ready to go here in this one. And it's like, yeah, it was a home opener because you were home, but that was about it. There was no home field advantage to be had. And then slowly but surely, I mean, your pasta and meatballs was right because that first drive by the Raiders was good.
Getting nervous.
Yeah, well, it got it all. Usually most NFL games make you nervous at the end because it gets close. But the Steelers looked good last night. That's for sure. I mean, they were clearly the more physical, ready to play football team. They ran the ball enough. It wasn't beautiful, but at least it was effective. Kenny Pickett played pretty damn good and got out of the pocket and did some plays like that limited some bad plays. And then they found some ways to stretch the field a little bit, like we've talked about, and open up some of these short passes in the run game. And I think that's the encouraging thing for Pickett and the Steelers offense. But these moves right here is special. I mean, and he's going to have to get back to that as they kind of continue to find their way on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, I think one thing that last night's game proved is that the Browns have a pretty damn good defense.
That's right.
Because they swallowed up Kenny Pickett on Monday night before he could do any of that stuff, but he did make some big plays with his legs. He was very efficient in the passing game. They got the ball to George Pickens as they needed to. He had 4 catches for 75 yards. There was the long throw to Calvin Austin that equalized things at 7. That was right after the Raiders had scored first on a 32-yard touchdown pass from Jimmy Garoppolo to Devontae Adams.
Here's the play here,
They banged around Garoppolo last night, too. Great throw, under pressure, and Calvin Austin, this just in fast, splitting the defenders. And that's what you have to – if you're Pittsburgh, you can't let 7-0 become 14-0. If 7-0 becomes 14-0, the Steelers are not built to come back from that. You've got to answer the touchdown that the other team scores first, and then you got to try to build a lead, as they did. It went from 7-0 to 7-7, and the next thing was 23-7. Pittsburgh's up. I mean, it was methodical, but by the time we got into the late third quarter, the Pat Freiermuth touchdown catch from Kenny Pickett made it 23-7, and that's when the Steelers went into let's hold on and try to pull this off mode, and almost didn't pull it off.
Yeah, well, it got close at the end, like you're saying, but hey, get the ball to 14, like we talked about in the pregame show last night. Get the ball to Pickens more. All right, I still think they can find more ways. Get the ball to 19, like you saw. He's one of the few guys on their offense that can, run by people on a deep post and do something with the ball in his hand and make something happen there in Calvin Austin. I like that. Continue to run the ball, and they're going to continue to pound the rock there. Even though it's not pretty, it was effective enough. And it just keeps people off Kenny Pickett and just rushing them and getting the pass rush under control a little bit there. But
Jaylen Warren, they even though Naji Harris got the ball more, it was 29 snaps for Naji Harris, 28 for Jaylen Warren. No, 31. I'm sorry, 31 for Naji Harris, 28 for Jaylen Warren. So they're using Warren more.
Yeah.
He's on the field more.
Yeah.
And look,
I think we all think that needs to happen.
Yeah. I feel bad saying this, but you said it yourself last week. It goes back to his time in Alabama. You've got to just run north-south if you're Naji Harris. You can't dance like Le'Veon Bell to try to find an opening, and they can't run him to the outside. He doesn't have the burst to get around the edge.
No, he doesn't.
Every time he has like an 8-yard run, I'm thinking, boy, there's other guys out there that would have.
Yeah, would have got 20.
Have 20.
Yeah.
And they showed a stat last night about, and it was one of those advanced analytics, like lost yards since 2021, like 180 yards that maybe he should have. I don't know how they figure that out, but I know what my eyes tell me.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, he just gained 8, but I think other guys in that situation would have had 20.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that. And then, there's things that he can bring that are an advantage to his game, but sometimes he doesn't take advantage of it, in my opinion. It's just the fact of, like you said, he has a little bit of that Le'Veon Bell, and I'm going to come up to the line of scrimmage and hop and try to find a hole to go to off that. First off, Le'Veon Bell was really special in his prime, so that's not easy to replicate, right? I mean, he had some of the greatest feet and the greatest first 2-3 steps to reaccelerate that I can remember. I mean, he's one of those, when you saw him in person on a field, you went, whoa, I just didn't realize he was kind of that explosive and that quick and can lower his shoulder and still run people over. But I think you heard me say one time in the viewing room last night, sometimes, yeah, it's not a great offensive line. We get that. It's still a work in progress. There's not much there. You just got to put your shoulder pads down and just drive into the pile and make it 2nd and 7. And then sometimes it looks like you're saying, he's looking to bounce outside or get an 8 or a 10-yard gain, and you're just going, that's not there, and that's not your game. Just get 3 or 4 and, put your offense in a good situation here and now. The defense doesn't know what to expect, run or pass. But either way, they were clearly the better team on the field last night. That's for sure. They were the more physical football team. You felt like they had control of the game, really, like you said, right after that Calvin Austin touchdown, it just felt like it was a Steelers night. And then, of course, we saw the Raiders make a charge late in the game.
So,
yeah.
At the end.
Yeah, what do you think?
Josh McDaniels tried the field goal. There was a leverage call against the Steelers, fresh set of downs, and they hit 4th down inside the 10. They were in position to obviously go for it. It was 4th and 4. They kicked the field goal with just over 2 minutes to play. The analytics say in that situation, go for the touchdown, because if you don't get it, the other team is pinned. You've got 3 timeouts. You've got the 2-minute warning. You get another crack getting down the field.
The same justification you're going to use for let's kick a field goal and then kick it off and have them down on their end and get the ball back, right?
I mean, you still got to get the ball back.
Yeah.
You still got to get the ball back.
Right.
So you go for it. You don't get it. You still got to get the touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing, and I heard your voice in my brain, because you still needed 8, so you got to score 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, right.
You got to score the touchdown, then you got to score another touchdown from the 2-yard line. So, okay, we kick the field goal. We get the ball back to an offense that is sputtered, and if we get it, all we need is the touchdown. We don't need the 2-point conversion. They had already scored once and gotten a 2-point conversion, and that's the statistics are one thing. There's so many other factors that I'm willing to defer to in the mind of the head coach. Like, okay, I gotta score a touchdown and go for 2 again, but I just used my best one to get the last 2 points.
Yeah, sure, right.
Like, what else do I have? Do I feel good about it? That's one of the things Sean Payton says about analytics. Well, all right, you want me to go for it here on 4th and short. How many plays do I have that I feel good about against this defense?
How many times have we already done it before, and I've used some of my best ones?
What am I going to do there to score that extra 2 points? So there's a lot that goes into it. Here's McDaniels explaining the decision after the game to kick the field goal and not go for the touchdown, even though the analytics said go for the touchdown.
You have 2 choices there. You try to make it a 5-point game where you have an opportunity to win it with the touchdown if you get the ball back, or you try to, go for it there. And then if you happen to convert, then you got to make the 2-point conversion, all the rest of it. So, just as are the decisions you got to make. I thought we did a decent job of putting ourselves in 3rd down there the next series with the defense to try to have a play to get off the field, and we didn't handle that play very well.
Well, no, and that was the problem, and it was a great breakdown by Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico. They blitzed from the slot on that 3rd down, and Kenny Pickett rolled just enough, and Allen Robinson wide open, and that was the dagger for the Raiders. They got the ball back, but there wasn't enough time to do anything, and we saw the interception from Jimmy Garoppolo to end the game. He was picked off 3 times. He got twisted up like a pretzel. I was impressed that he was able to keep going. He was evaluated for a concussion after the game. This just isn't sustainable. No. Look, it's not that he's injury prone. He just plays the game in a way that gets him exposed to too much contact, and if you get hit enough times, you're eventually going to get hurt. Right. And he's a warrior, and he'll keep going, and he's courageous.
That's right.
But you got to find a way to keep yourself clean.
Yeah.
You got to get rid of the ball before 3 guys twist you up in knots.
Yeah.
That's the challenge. You got to avoid the blows to the head. You got to avoid the hits that eventually and inevitably will keep you from playing for 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, rest of the season, whatever.
Yeah, I think the word you're using there, sustainable, is the real thing. Right? One, not sustainable that they think that like Jimmy Garoppolo dropping back 45, 50 times a game and having to throw every play is going to win them football games. It's not going to happen. He's not that, like, this is not Mahomes or Josh Allen or somebody like that. So he's not capable of going, okay, guys, I'll just carry you week in and week out. They got to get the run game going, and that's still a big issue. I'm shocked by it with how good they were last year and their big offensive line. It's just lethargic, and they get blown off the ball consistently in the run game right now. And, on top of what you're saying, Mike, too, Garoppolo, and I'm not trying to be cute here. I'm not, because, again, I have respect for what Jimmy Garoppolo has done. I get that. Now, I get sick when people say all he does is win games. And I'm going to go, yeah, well, all he was on an all-star team with the 49ers, right? We're going to see if he can win games now with the Raiders, all right? But I look at the league and go, I don't know, is Jimmy Garoppolo the least mobile quarterback in football? I think he might be.
He's the least mobile who tries to be mobile. Like, he's not aware that he's not mobile. He tries to be mobile.
I hear you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. He kind of maybe goes outside of his realm of reality a little bit and puts himself in some of these positions.
Like when Kirk Cousins senses the wall's closing in, he turtles.
Right.
And he still gets banged around a lot. We saw in the Netflix
Oh, my gosh.
series
He got killed yesterday. Yeah.
But he doesn't make it worse
Right.
by putting his body in a position where when he does inevitably get hit.
he's still trying to throw and somebody's
so it's all
down.
get twisted around
exactly.
and sprained and
Right.
whooped and broken. He
Right.
at least goes into duck and cover mode.
Yeah, I agreed there. Agreed. You got to know what you are, who you are. It's too Devontae Adams-centric right now still. At least Jacoby Myers got going, it seemed like, in the second half. That seemed like the majority of his catches. The other thing, too, Mike, back to the decision, right? And you laid it out, right? There's a lot of things to think of. It's not an easy decision. But that's one there where I would have gone, you got to go for it. And you know me, I'm usually a field goal guy. Like, we'll talk about the Ravens later with John Harbaugh because you brought him up, and I go, I don't know why you went for it in the middle of the field right there. You're better. Make Gardner Minshew go down and drive and kick a field goal to win the game. Don't just give them the ball right there so they can make one play and now kick a field goal and you lose. And we've seen the tie comes in handy, right? But with this case with the Raiders, like you always, analytics great, blah, 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 blah. The feel for the game. Getting down to the red area wasn't that easy, all game. The offense wasn't smooth by any stretch of the imagination. So, do you really feel confident that you're going to march down there again and make that happen one more time? You're there. So that's the thing I would say, too. And then added on top of that, your defense is certainly, not the Raiders of the 70s. And you've had a hard time slowing down the Steelers all night long. And that's where I would have said, yeah, you got to go for it in that situation. See if you could, score the touchdown, tie the game, and then go from there. But again, I don't think it's the most egregious, horrible decision. But yeah, that's one I would have gone for.
And this is a take that is not rooted in analytics at all. The reality is this: you took 3 points off the board and kept the ball. You could have declined the penalty, taken the 3 points, and said, we just want more time.
Yeah, right.
So
right.
You take the penalty. You're trying to get a touchdown.
Yes.
We want the touchdown.
Yes.
And then you take more time off the clock to make it even harder to get the ball back after you take the field goal then. It's like the football gods gave you a gift and you threw it back. They gave you a chance to go get a touchdown. And we'll just go ahead and take the 3 points that we took off the board. There's just something about that.
Yeah.
That it has nothing to do with analytics. It just feels like you're defying. You're not being grateful. You're biting the hand that tried to feed you a chance to go get the touchdown. And if it fails, you've got 3 timeouts. You've got the 2-minute warning. You've got a Steelers offense that isn't great. You've got them pinned up against their goal line, so they're going to try to be careful because a safety all of a sudden opens the door to 6 points tying the game and 7 beating you. So I just, look, I always defer to the person who has earned the right to make those decisions, and they understand that if you make enough of those decisions the wrong way, you end up not having a job. But that just feels like one where they should have gone for it.
Yeah.
They should have gone for it.
I agree.
Along the way.
Yeah.
On the comeback trail.
What?
2nd and 10 from the 18.
Yeah.
Nothing the passer.
Oh.
And here's my plea. And this is not this isn't singling out anyone. Any of the rules analysts. Terry McAuliffe does a great job. They all do a great job. None of them will ever mention, and I don't understand this. I need to reach out to Terry. I mean, they try to explain the roughing the passer call as a substantive matter of, was this roughing the passer? Remember what the rule says. When in doubt, whip it out.
Right.
That's all they need to say. Hey, Terry, what did you see here? Well, this is the first thing we need to remember, Mike. The rule book expressly says, when in doubt, whip it out. That's what happened here. There's doubt. If there's doubt, the flag comes out. That's it. So, did he really violate the rules? Was it really a forcible blow to the head? It doesn't matter. When in doubt, whip it out. That's what happens. And I think one of the reasons why there's never enough pressure put on the league to get rid of that aspect of the rule book is nobody ever says it. We're the only ones who say it.
Yeah.
When in doubt, whip it out is in the rule book, and it shouldn't be. Now, you look at it super slow motion. That, to me, they've called that in the past.
Yeah.
But in the effort to explain it, I think the frontline position, whichever network, whichever rules analyst, it needs to be, this is the one rule where the officials are told, when in doubt, throw the flag. And that sets the context for then trying to understand it, because the fans are looking at it as whether or not it was roughing the passer, not, oh, wait, I understand. They're specifically told if there's any doubt, they're to throw the flag, and they're out there in real time trying to make these decisions. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. Listen, it's tough on these refs. There's obviously an incredible emphasis on protecting the quarterback. I don't like that at all. I mean, again, I don't think his head's going to touch him, but Jimmy ducks down and gets it down there where his head, does touch him. It wasn't a big forcible blow. No, those are ones where this is where the NFL refs got it wrong right now.
But you do have to go in. I mean, from Micah Fitzpatrick's standpoint,
a little scoot to the side, right? It's just that to me is not egregious enough to call in that moment. And then what drives me crazy is they're going to over officiate that, and then yet let pass interference happen at the end of football games like the Ravens Colts or the Washington Broncos game, and they're not going to call those. So that's where, to me, that bothers me a little bit. And I just wish they would listen. I'm all for protecting the quarterback. And if he launched at his head or did something crazy, throw the flag. Then it's his fault and he should know better. But that one there is a little bit like, come on, rubbing his racing a little bit. He's running in like a crazy guy. He looks like he's going to just hit him with his chest and kind of swallow him up. And, yeah, you're right. He doesn't tilt it to the side, and therefore that leads to his face mask touching the ear hole a little bit. And, that it drives me crazy.
What we know, though, it's no surprise.
No, it's not surprising
that they protect the quarterbacks.
Yep.
But my plea is, can we inject into the coverage of these games, starting tonight with John Perry on ABC? Again, this is a call out to everybody that's in a position to, because what is said during these broadcasts has tremendous influence. And we just need to get the rules analysts to start pointing out when there's a close, questionable call, instead of saying, well, I wouldn't have called that, or oh, that looks close to me, or I'm not sure that that's forcible. Remember, these folks are told in the rule book. It's in the rule book. This isn't some side directive from the league office. It's in the rule book. When in doubt, throw the flag. It's the only rule that has that element to it, and it's all part of this broader effort to protect quarterbacks, because if the quarterbacks are protected, we've got Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers next Sunday night, not Patrick Mahomes and Zach Wilson. Obviously, we'll talk about the predicament the Jets face later in the program. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.